My husband brought his mistress home for a secret rendezvous. Meanwhile, I was locked out, unable to return to my own house. I knew what would happen next. He would jump down from the third floor. Then, pretending he had just returned from outside, he would lure me away, giving his beloved the chance to escape. Because I had been reborn. In my past life, I clung to the door, refusing to leave, and ended up beaten black and blue. In this lifetime, I readily left with him. I would even forgive his infidelity and live peacefully with him. Because I knew, when he jumped from the third floor, that fall had already given him a concussion. He wouldn't last more than a few days. When Vincent rubbed his head and stormed up to me in a rage, I knew the gears of fate had already begun to turn. Are you insane? I told you I wasn't home, now do you believe me? I sized Vincent up from head to toe, not missing the misaligned buttons on his collar or the muddy grass stains on his leather shoes. 15 minutes earlier, I had returned from a business trip, suitcase in hand. Just as I reached the door, I heard the sounds of laughter and playful banter between a man and a woman inside. Though indistinct, the man's voice was unmistakably my husband's. I turned the lock, and the noise instantly ceased. As the door unlocked and I prepared to push it open, hurried footsteps rushed to the other side. Click, the deadbolt slid into place. At that moment, what more was there to misunderstand? My husband had taken advantage of my absence to bring another woman into our home for some carefree fun. I pounded on the door frantically outside, shouting at the top of my lungs. Vincent, open the door. No response. I called Vincent, threatening him to open the door immediately if he didn't want this to escalate. But Vincent flatly denied being home. The lock has always been faulty, you must have broken it by twisting too hard. Such a lie might fool a child, but I didn't believe it for a second. I kept pounding on the door. Just like in my previous life, he hastily threw on his clothes and jumped from the third-floor balcony into the residential garden below. Then he came panting before me. Vincent cleared his throat uncomfortably under my scrutinizing gaze. My commotion had already drawn the attention of neighbors from both upstairs and downstairs. The aunt across the way saw Vincent return and kindly tried to mediate. Young lady, don't get so worked up. Your husband is right, if he were inside, how could he be standing here? This must be a misunderstanding. A few others chimed in agreement. Vincent's face flushed red as he suppressed his voice to scold me, screaming and shouting like some shrew. You're coming with me. He grabbed my arm and tried to drag me toward the stairwell. I clung to the door handle, and he couldn't pull me away. This infuriated him. Vincent whipped his head around to glare at me, his face dark with anger. If you don't move now, I'll beat you to death. In my past life, I was stubborn to a fault. I held on to that door with all my strength, determined to see who this woman was that couldn't show her face. Vincent, humiliated and enraged, kicked me straight into the stairwell landing. You're being shameless when I'm giving you face. What's all this fuss about? I told you the lock's broken, yet you insist on making a scene. If you can open this door today, I'll admit you're something special. Vincent dragged me all the way to the basement. When we opened the door again, the room was empty, whoever was inside had long since vanished without a trace. Because of this, I filed for divorce from Vincent that very day. At first, Vincent refused, saying I was being paranoid and that he was completely innocent. 2 days later, he contacted me himself and went with me to finalize the divorce. Right after we got the divorce papers, he suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood. Only then did I learn that 2 days earlier, he had jumped out of a window and suffered a concussion. He had struggled out of the hospital just to divorce me, and afterward, he peacefully handed over all his assets to his mistress. And my cousin, the one who introduced me to Vincent in the first place, said smugly to me, "Little sister, thank you for stepping aside. The life of a wealthy wife was always meant to be mine. After being reborn, I will never divorce again. I will continue living the life of a wealthy wife." I believe you. I pouted, loosened my grip on the door, and timidly tugged at his sleeve. Since you've already come back from outside, how could I not believe you? Hubby, it's all my fault for misunderstanding you. You're so busy with work and had to rush back to deal with this. I've caused you trouble. Vincent was momentarily stunned by my sudden change. Just a second ago, I was shouting about wanting to see which wild woman was behind the door, and now my attitude had shifted so drastically. He had already prepared to forcibly drag me away. Now it felt like throwing a heavy punch into cotton, utterly ineffective. You know you're being unreasonable. I was in the middle of a meeting. Do you have any idea how close you came to delaying a multi-million-dollar project? Vincent softened his tone, launching into a serious-sounding fabrication. I replied apologetically, I'm sorry, darling. It won't happen again. Vincent sighed in relief and patted my hand. All right then, let me take you out for a meal first. He still wanted to quickly remove me from this place, giving his mistress the chance to leave. I declined considerately. I just ate, darling. Your company must be swamped, you should hurry back. I'll call the locksmith and wait here for them to fix it. The aunt across the way chimed in helpfully. Last time my grandson locked his keys inside, he called them. I have their number here, sweetie. Let me give it to you. I thanked the aunt and dialed the number. They said they'd arrive in 15 minutes. Vincent frowned, his entire body radiating suppressed irritation. After hanging up, I considerately linked my arm through Vincent's. Honey, let me walk you to the car. I had no intention of getting kicked like in my previous life. Just as I finished speaking, a loud noise suddenly came from inside the house. I jumped. That sound hadn't happened in my past life? Honey, what was that noise? Sounds like one of our chairs fell over. Vincent's back stiffened, his voice hoarse. I forgot to close the window when I left this morning. Must have been the wind. What kind of wind could knock over a chair with that much force? A Category 10 typhoon? I couldn't help covering my mouth to laugh, chiding him lightly. You're so careless. The neighbors exchanged glances but said nothing more. Happily, I left with Vincent, pretending not to notice their wonderfully expressive faces. Now I'm deaf and blind. As long as I can hold out until Vincent is lying in the ICU, I won't bother with those things. When I returned again, the house was empty. But unlike the previous life, this time there was a gold necklace on our bed. Glancing at the overturned solid wood chair, I had a faint suspicion and quietly pocketed the necklace without a word. After the long, tiring journey, I needed proper rest. I originally planned to take a bubble bath, but feared they might have used it, disgusting. So I just took a quick hot shower and applied an expensive facial mask. Picking up my phone, I called Vincent. Honey, are you off work yet? Vincent replied, there's still some work left to handle. I pouted and whined. Seems like you've forgotten what day it is today. And here I came back from my business trip 2 days early just for this. There was a pause on the other end. Ignoring it, I continued, honey, are you still mad at me? I just care about you too much. I dragged out my words in a cutesy voice, the exact tone Vincent could never resist. Countless times before, he'd always melted and given in. Now he finally remembered it was our wedding anniversary. When he spoke again, his voice had softened considerably. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I've been so busy lately. I'll make it up to you tonight. I sweetly agreed. Inside the Michelin-starred upscale restaurant, with flowers, red wine, cake, gifts, and gourmet food, the atmosphere was perfect. My husband and I reminisced about the romantic scene when he proposed to me here years ago. As the lights flickered, through the film reel of memories, I seemed to glimpse the 3 years I had spent with Vincent. We did have our sweet moments too. When we first met, he was gentle, refined, and gentlemanly, leaving me with a favorable impression. During our year of dating, he pampered me in every way possible. He would personally cook my favorite dishes. He would brew brown sugar water for me during my period. When he saw me barefoot, he would put socks on for me. And when I fell ill and needed care, he would drive overnight from out of town just to be by my side. So when he knelt on one knee and proposed, I accepted without hesitation. But at some point, his meetings grew more frequent, and he came home later and later. I sensed something was amiss and tried to mend our relationship. But clearly, it was already too late. Vincent was in high spirits tonight, thoroughly enjoying himself. I gazed at him with adoring eyes the entire time, as if transporting him back to our early days of romance. We raised our glasses repeatedly, toasting the past, the present, and the future. People with concussions shouldn't drink, but who cares? Vincent's face flushed red from alcohol, his eyes fixed on me with a vacant stare. Utterly revolting. He leaned in close, pretending to kiss me, but I blocked him with a hand. Not so fast, let's take a photo first. In the picture, I wore a blissful smile while Vincent's dazed eyes lingered on my face. The atmosphere of doting tenderness pleased me immensely. I posted it online. The caption was equally nauseating. Your lifetime, I borrow but a stretch. And this stretch shall last a lifetime. Happy anniversary. Soon, Vincent's phone rang. He silently hung up. I asked with concern, who was that? Is it okay not to answer? It's fine, Vincent replied without changing his expression. I smiled. Midway through, I went to the restroom, and when I returned, Vicky was already sitting across from me. A third person forcing their way into a couple's wedding anniversary celebration seemed somewhat unreasonable. But if that person was family, then everything became acceptable. In the past, many of Vincent's and my affairs had included my cousin's participation. We went shopping together, and my cousin said, "It's been ages since I last went shopping. Jade, you have great taste. Let me join you, pick out a couple of things for me too, will you?" Vincent and I went to eat at a private kitchen, and my cousin said, "This place is especially delicious. You two chat, I'll leave once I'm done eating." Vincent and I went to soak in the hot springs, and my cousin said, "I just bought a new swimsuit and was worried I wouldn't get a chance to wear it." I truly am the world's biggest fool, letting them harbor such filthy thoughts right under my nose. This time, Vicky did the same, claiming she just happened to pass by and asking if I minded her being our third wheel. I hadn't even spoken yet when Vincent familiarly said, "Vicky, we're all family here, no need to be so polite." I smiled as I watched their performance. She gave a slight smile and casually asked me, "Jade, I've lost a necklace, have you seen it?" Vincent suddenly looked up, unconsciously swallowing hard. "No," I replied coolly. She stared at my face, murmuring under her breath. How could she not have noticed? It wasn't like this in the previous life. Vincent didn't understand, and I pretended not to either. "Cousin, what are you talking about?" Vicky said nothing more. After a long pause, she seemed to have made up her mind and grasped Vincent's hand. "Jade, I'm pregnant, and the baby is Vincent's. I've already divorced your brother-in-law. You and Vincent should go get a divorce now." Vincent never expected things to take such a sudden turn. He sprang to his feet. "Vicky, what are you saying?" Vicky paid no heed, determined to lay everything bare. "Vincent, you know I love you. I can't keep being your secret mistress anymore, I want to be with you openly. Jade, you must have seen my necklace, right? I placed it in such an obvious spot on the bed, there's no way you could have missed it. No matter why you're pretending not to see it, I'm telling you now, Vincent and I were each other's first love. We've never been able to let go of each other. Please, just let us be together." My eyes widened in disbelief, tears falling like fragile porcelain shattering. "Honey, is what she's saying true?" Vincent's face flushed red, his gaze darting away. "Sweetheart, she must be drunk," he said, shooting Vicky a pointed look. "Vicky, whatever this is, we can talk about it privately. Why are you making a scene here?" Vicky refused to back down. "Vincent, are you still trying to hide it? I'm pregnant, aren't you going to think about us, about our child?" She wanted to say more, but the restaurant manager approached politely. "Excuse me, ma'am, is there any aspect where our hotel has fallen short? Please feel free to point it out, our restaurant prioritizes customer satisfaction above all." Vicky glanced around. The elite crowd, dressed in refined suits and gorgeous gowns, had turned their attention this way. City wasn't exactly large, but neither was it small. Everyone in the finance circle recognized each other by face. Vincent pulled Vicky toward the exit. "Honey, Vicky must be drunk. I'll take her home." I forced a smile uglier than tears. "Okay." After they left, I gently wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes. Calmly, I continued eating my steak. This was a reservation I'd made a week in advance, a spot I never got to enjoy in my past life. This time, nothing and no one would ruin my appetite. No matter what happens, eating comes first. Only with a full stomach would I have the strength to deal with them. From my cousin's words, my suspicions were confirmed. She had also been reborn. The absurd part was that after returning to this life, she didn't even take Vincent to see a doctor immediately. If Vincent knew that the two women who claimed to love him were both eyeing his inheritance after his death, how heartbroken and devastated he would be. Just imagining that scene made me happy. I slept restlessly that night. Again, I dreamed of the time after Vincent's death, when I went around exposing Vicky's affair with him, and Vicky sobbed pitifully in front of my parents. She said I'd lost my mind. How else could I suspect my own cousin of such a thing? My brother-in-law suggested he knew the director of a mental hospital. Since my condition wasn't severe yet, they could send me for treatment and have me cured quickly, so it wouldn't affect my future marriage prospects. Ignoring my mother's protests, my father slipped me sleeping pills and let an unmarked van take me away. My days in the psychiatric hospital were the nightmare of my life. I tried desperately to prove I wasn't ill, but proving one's sanity in a mental institution is like an unsolvable paradox. Forced to take various antidepressants and nerve medications daily, any resistance was met with electric shocks or beatings. At midnight, my cousin's husband would creep to my bedside with sinister intent, unleashing all his twisted rage upon me. The next day, Vincent finally returned. He sighed and laid his cards on the table. "Jade, I'm sorry, let me explain. Your cousin and I were lovers throughout our 4 years in university. Her parents forced her to break up with me and marry someone else. After marrying you, I truly intended to build a life with you." His fluent delivery showed he'd rehearsed this speech. Silent tears streamed down my face. "Why didn't you tell me during our blind date that you'd been in love? When we went shopping and hiking together, I thought my cousin was third-wheeling, but now I see I was the unwanted extra." I pounded my head in anguish, refusing to accept reality. Vincent rushed to stop my self-harm. "Baby, don't do this, it breaks my heart." I seized his shoulders and shook him violently in my emotional outburst. "But my heart hurts even more. I love you, Vincent, I loved you until I lost myself. And yet you ended up having an affair with my cousin. How am I supposed to accept that?" I grabbed his head and shook it even harder. "I can't accept it." Vincent held his head, his face pale. Still, he couldn't help but defend himself. "I'm sorry, but Vicky has already divorced for me. I can't let her down again. And the child in her belly is innocent." Vincent shed crocodile tears. "I'm the one at fault for cheating. I'm willing to give you half of my assets." I sneered inwardly. What a touching performance. Half his assets, what a joke. Even if he hadn't cheated, wouldn't I have been entitled to half anyway? Why should he act like he's doing me a favor by offering only half now, when he's the one begging for a divorce after his wrongdoing? I wiped away my tears. "Honey, I can't bring myself to give up on you. I love you too much. This is all so sudden, please give me some time to process it, okay?" Nothing could stroke a man's ego more than words like these. He patted my shoulder. "Jade, I hope you can accept reality soon." I got up like a zombie and went to the bathroom to wash up. Vincent's phone rang. His tone was gentle, even carrying a hint of smugness. "Vicky, you have to give Jade time. Don't worry, the baby's still early, there's no rush." Little did he know, I was actually in quite a hurry. And these past 2 days, between the drinking and my frantic head shaking, the time left for him was growing even shorter. Vincent blamed Vicky for being too impatient. He was filled with guilt toward me. A pitiful wife, one who still loved him deeply, who knew about his affair yet could only weep helplessly. How could he not feel guilty? He even harbored some resentment toward Vicky. But who could blame her when she carried his child? It was impossible for him to stay angry at a pregnant woman. So, when Vicky stormed into our home with my parents in tow, he could only sigh helplessly. "Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. Today, you can scold or hit me, whatever you want." My cousin, caressing her still flat stomach, also knelt before my father. "Uncle, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen." My father clutched his wrist in anguish. "Vicky, how could you be so foolish?" "Woo-woo, Uncle, I'm sorry, I was wrong. But the baby in my belly is so pitiful, he'll be called a bastard as soon as he's born. How can you bear to see your own grandchild suffer like this?" Vicky sobbed hysterically, draped over my father's lap. Anyone who didn't know better would think she was his biological daughter. Meanwhile, I, the actual victim, stood silently, watching the scene with calm detachment. Slap, a sharp crack echoed as Vicky's face was struck. "You wretched woman. If you're pitiful, what about my daughter?" It was Mom. Normally, she wouldn't dare lift a finger against Vicky, but today, rage had consumed her. Dad gaped at her in shock. "Have you lost your mind, woman?" But Mom wasn't afraid anymore. She raised her hand and delivered another stinging slap to Vicky's face. "How dare this homewrecker have the audacity to cry? Who will speak up for my daughter's suffering? Today, I'll beat this shameless creature to death if it's the last thing I do, just to give my daughter justice." Dad stood up and raised his foot to kick Mom, but I quickly pulled her aside. Mom looked at me with loving eyes. "Good daughter, Mom has let you suffer all these years." My tears instantly fell. Mom had no education and, in front of Dad, a college graduate, she never held her head high her entire life. Inside and outside the house, even down to buying a few vegetables, Dad made all the decisions. Since childhood, Dad had always favored my cousin. He said it was his elder brother who funded his college education, so naturally, he had to be good to Vicky. Vicky's family lived in the countryside. After we bought a house in the city, Dad brought Vicky to live with us so she could attend a city middle school. From that moment on, our family had 2 daughters. Dad demanded that Mom raise Vicky as her own. Whatever I had, she had too. What I didn't have, she still got. Later, they even bought her new clothes while I had to wear her hand-me-downs. To this, Father took it for granted. "Your cousin is a grown girl now. If she dresses shabbily, what will people think of our family? You're the younger sister, what's wrong with wearing your elder sister's clothes?" Mother couldn't bear it and secretly bought me a new dress. When my cousin saw it, she ran back to our rural hometown in tears. "Auntie bought things for my younger sister behind my back but not for me. I'm just an extra in your family. I don't want to live under someone else's roof either, I want my own father and mother." The result was Father breaking Mother's leg, leaving her bedridden for months. He even stopped giving her pocket money. Because of this incident, his reputation for gratitude and righteousness spread. He built his dignified, benevolent image on the suffering of his own daughter and wife. From then on, I dared not voice my grievances to Mother anymore, because she couldn't fight back, and I would only bring her more trouble. Father forced me to file for divorce with Vincent today. Mother threw a tantrum and fought with him. My mother, who had never stood up for herself in her entire life, seemed like a completely different person today. She pressed aggressively, speaking with righteous indignation. "Is this wretched girl your secret love child with your sister-in-law? Otherwise, why would you treat her better than your own daughter?" Dad's face flushed crimson, his eyes nearly bulging with rage. "What nonsense are you spouting, you shrew?" He rushed forward to attack my mother again, but this time, the arriving police stopped him. "Hold it right there." I had known from the moment they showed up that my cousin wouldn't leave without getting her way, so I'd called the police in advance. Inside the mediation room, Vicky sat across from me, realizing my parents couldn't help her achieve her goal. Her expression turned pitiful. Jade, do you still refuse to divorce Vincent? You're not like me. I married right after graduation, never worked a day, and lost all ability to earn money. But you're a modern woman, a career powerhouse. Dad still adopted that authoritarian attitude. Vicky is right, Jade. I'm asking you to divorce for your own good. A man like that doesn't deserve to be with you. I chuckled coldly. I've heard of moral blackmail, but never character blackmail. I won't divorce. Vincent is mine in life and my family's ghost in death. Vincent stared blankly at this scene. He couldn't understand why things had taken such a strange turn. Suddenly, Vicky's face turned sinister. With absolute certainty, she asked me, Jade, you've been reborn too. This time, I stopped beating around the bush. Yes. She suddenly understood. You did it on purpose? You pretended not to hear the chair I smashed in your house, pretended not to see my necklace, and even deliberately forgave Vincent's affair, because you also knew he was about to die? I laughed heartily, neither confirming nor denying. Vicky clenched her teeth. A day as husband and wife brings 100 days of kindness. You're too cruel. You're just a venomous woman who watches others die without lifting a finger. Weren't you the same? I replied coolly. Vicky fell silent. Only Vincent's face turned ashen. Vicky, who's about to die? Vicky gave Vincent a complicated look, then quickly replaced it with a sorrowful expression. She whispered something into Vincent's ear, and he froze. Darling, are you feeling unwell anywhere? The children and I haven't settled in yet, you must hold on. But Vincent's face was deathly pale. Under the tremendous shock, he collapsed faster than in his previous life. Inside the emergency room, the doctor handed me a surgical consent form to sign. The patient's condition is critical. We suspect delayed cerebral hemorrhage with increasing hematoma compressing the brainstem. He could experience respiratory or cardiac arrest at any moment. Immediate surgery is advised. My pen paused mid-signature as I glanced sideways at Vicky. She immediately went on high alert. Jade, you wouldn't refuse to save him, would you? If you dare not sign today, I'll die right in front of you. I scoffed, what profound devotion indeed. With swift strokes, I signed my name. As long as Vincent walked out of this emergency room alive, Vicky would still have hope. Giving her hope only to shatter it with my own hands, nothing could be more delightful. Mom waited with me outside the operating room. Dad and Vicky sat on a bench on the other side. I laughed bitterly and said, Mom, maybe you weren't wrong to suspect, she might really be Dad's biological daughter. Mom smoothed the stray hairs by my ear. My poor daughter, I don't care about that anymore. I'm just grateful that in this life, you're still alive and well. She told me she had also been reborn. In our past life, news of my death in the mental hospital reached her. Heartbroken, she went to confront Vicky. Vicky was getting a facial with a group of wealthy socialites. That cousin of mine was always too stubborn. But I should thank her for it, even though her husband was the guilty party, she was so desperate for a quick divorce that she didn't even fight for the assets. Oh well, it worked out nicely for me. A woman lying nearby chimed in. Vicky, you really have a way with things. We're all so envious, you're practically winning without lifting a finger. But, your husband doesn't mind, does he? Vicky scoffed. What would he care? He and the kid live off me, you think he's as brainless as Jade? The woman nodded. That's why they say financial status determines family hierarchy. Vicky's tactics are superior, after all. Vicky smirked triumphantly. That old hag still asked where I was. What could she even do if she found me? Her daughter died, it wasn't my doing. That place was full of lunatics, who could possibly trace how she really died? My mother could bear it no longer. She pulled out a fruit knife and walked toward Vicky. Vicky died. With no hope left, my mother took her own life too. What happened after death, I wouldn't know. Hearing Mom say this, my heart ached unbearably. Mom, it was my own foolishness and lack of ambition that made me live like that back then. Why should you have to sacrifice yourself for me? Tears streamed down Mom's face as she sobbed. It's all my fault, I let you suffer so much injustice growing up. You always had to use her old backpacks and stationery, wear her hand-me-down clothes. Your allowance was only half of hers. She could go to summer camp while you couldn't. When her grades improved, your father rewarded her. But you were always ranked first or second in class, and your father never even gave you verbal praise. I'm not a good mother, I just stood by and watched my own daughter endure so much unfairness. If Mom hadn't mentioned it, I would have forgotten. That little girl who once longed so desperately for her father's attention. Every single incident, Mom had remembered them all. But Mom, I don't blame you. Because you never bought new clothes for yourself either. You were treated like a workhorse at home. The slightest dissatisfaction would earn you a beating from Dad. And I failed to protect you too. We held each other and wept bitterly, finding reconciliation in our shared pain. Fortunately, heaven has given us a chance to start over. All that suffering was merely the prologue. What awaits us now is nothing but smooth roads ahead. My former brother-in-law Miles brought food to Vicky. Seeing this wolf in sheep's clothing, my hatred surged uncontrollably. Brother-in-law, what an excellent ex-husband you are. Your ex-wife is carrying another man's child, yet you're still running around serving her hand and foot. My words visibly darkened Miles' expression. He merely snorted, "What do you know?" before walking toward Vicky. What's going on? Didn't you say we could get the marriage license today? Are you playing me? Vicky immediately stroked her belly. Miles, believe me, I'll definitely make it happen. Just give me a few more days, okay? Miles used to be a rich second-generation heir. Otherwise, Vicky wouldn't have abandoned Vincent to marry him. But who could have predicted Miles would indulge in drinking, whoring, and gambling, neglecting his duties until he squandered the family fortune? My cousin assured him that as long as he divorced her, she would soon come into a massive fortune. Then they could continue being husband and wife. Trash like Miles was naturally delighted. He happily divorced her without hesitation. Stop daydreaming, I said leisurely. I'm Vincent's wife. Even if he dies, all his assets will be inherited by me. You. Vicky wanted to retort, but the current situation left her no room for argument. Miles' eyes darted around before he grabbed Vicky by the collar. You'd better keep your word, you stupid woman. If you dare betray me, I'll kill you. With that, he stormed off. Late into the night, the operating room doors finally opened, and the doctor removed his mask. I'm sorry, we did our best. The surgery didn't go well, spend these next 2 days with the patient. Vicky collapsed to the floor. Vincent woke up the next day. During this time, Vicky had been by his side, tending to him diligently. After just 1 day apart, her delicate face had grown noticeably haggard. I, on the other hand, was different. That same day, I took my mother out for a lavish meal and bought her a complete new wardrobe from head to toe. My father was furious, accusing my mother of rebellion. But this time, she didn't hold back. With just a few sharp words, she left him speechless. That night, my mother and I spent a long time envisioning our future happiness together, which left me somewhat sleep-deprived today. Yawning, I walked over and looked at Vincent lying pale and ashen in the hospital bed. He lifted his eyes to meet mine, and though death was near, his gaze was as venomous as ice laced with poison. Jade, you vicious woman, you're the one who killed me. I smiled faintly. You jumped for your lover, what does that have to do with me? But you just stood by and watched me die. Vincent gritted his teeth, speaking through sheer hatred. And didn't your lover do the same? She didn't rush to save you in time either, did she? Vincent was rendered speechless. Vicky already explained it to me. I don't blame her. I'm afraid you hate Vicky even more in your heart. But there's no way around it, you're going to die, and that's an unchangeable fact. If you fall out with your mistress, even your own flesh and blood won't survive. So for the sake of the child in her belly, you've swallowed your pride and forgiven her. I mercilessly exposed his thoughts. Vincent was so enraged his blood pressure spiked instantly, taking a long while to calm down. Vicky naturally understood too, she could only sob pitifully, "Vincent, don't worry. Even without you, I'll manage to survive with our child, even if I have to beg." Tears streamed from Vincent's eyes. "Don't worry, what I'm leaving behind will be enough for you and the child to live comfortably for a lifetime." I watched this fascinating scene unfold. The company lawyer knocked and entered. Vincent struggled to sit up. "Lawyer, I need to draft my will now. Please record it for me." "Vincent, are you so sure the child in her belly is yours?" I quietly unlocked my phone. Miles' sinister voice came through. "Are you certain that's my child in your belly?" Then came Vicky's voice. "Honey, I swear to you, this baby is truly yours." Miles asked skeptically, "You're not lying to me?" "I wouldn't dare lie to you. After the baby's born, you can do a paternity test. If it's not yours, you can deal with me however you want." "Darling, don't be angry, you know I love you. Vincent isn't as good as you in bed, and he's got fewer tricks, how could I possibly like him? If it weren't for our family's financial struggles, would I have endured the disgust of being with him every time? Once he comes out of surgery, I'll make him draft a will leaving everything to me. It won't be long now, I promise you." As Miles was leaving, Vicky grabbed him. That was my chance to overhear their conversation at the stairwell, every word of it, which I recorded without missing a single syllable. Vincent passed away that very night. Of course, after hearing that recording, he was so enraged that his condition worsened. He was rushed back to the ICU before he could utter a single word to his lawyer. This time, he didn't make it out alive. As for Vicky, the life of a wealthy widow never had anything to do with her. In fact, the moment she showed up at Vincent's funeral, the people I'd arranged had her thrown out. I heard Vicky later found Miles again. She wanted to remarry him, but Miles beat her until she miscarried. "You filthy bitch, after betraying me, you still have the nerve to come crawling back. Where's the tens of millions you promised? Didn't get the money, yet you dare show your face?" Vicky curled up on the ground, begging for mercy. "Stop hitting me, husband. My stomach hurts so bad." Miles didn't stop. "Still trying to fool me? Who knows whose bastard that is? Even if it were mine, with half your blood running through it, I'd still be disgusted." By the time Vicky was taken to the hospital, she was covered in blood. The baby didn't survive. She was left with permanent infertility. She wanted to sue Miles, but her parents rushed to stop her. Because Miles had made vicious threats, if he was sentenced, Vicky's younger brother wouldn't fare any better. A man this cruel has no bottom line, there's nothing he wouldn't do. Her uncle advised her, "Good girl, since things have come to this, wouldn't it be better to just get some compensation from him? What good would sending him to prison do for you?" She tearfully went to my father, who only tried to console her, "David is your brother. If anything happens to him because of you, how could you live with yourself?" Vicky completely lost hope. She resigned herself to her fate. Soon her parents married her off to an old bachelor. The man was not only despicable but also abusive. Because she was involved with several men simultaneously, he broke both her legs and kept her tied up at home with a dog leash. Later, I heard she lost her sanity, crying every day at home about wanting to be a wealthy lady. I no longer cared about these things. My mother and I sold our house, took the tens of millions Vincent left me, and moved to a city with eternal spring-like weather. As for Dad, Mom had already divorced him long ago. I also gave him a sum of money, effectively severing our father-daughter relationship. I hope he makes the best of it.